Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into the deep end to unpack the mechanics of a truly fascinating presentation, the Las Vegas Neon Knights pitch deck for Dispatcher AO. We're going to explore exactly how the creator structures this pitch for a room full of highly skeptical investors. It's a brilliant balancing act, really. They're trying to bridge visceral, everyday, localized problems with, of all things, high-level unified field theory. So let's just jump right in and see how they frame this massive global infrastructure problem.
Okay, so the pitch starts by pulling you right down into the mud with a highly relatable, real-world scenario. Imagine trying to fix a broken AC unit in the middle of a scorching July heat wave. It's chaotic, right? Well, field service contractors are currently bleeding cash, losing a staggering 30% of their margins. And why? Simply due to dispatch friction and administrative lag. We're talking about contractor no-shows, incredibly messy paperwork, crossed wires, just the everyday operational drag that eats profits alive.
But here's where it gets wild. From that highly localized pain point, the pitch suddenly scales up to frame a global crisis. The founder coins this the state lie tax, and it is costing a mind-bending $1.2 trillion annually across global infrastructure. That's trillion with a T. By bringing in a number that massive, they instantly elevate the conversation. We're no longer just talking about a local scheduling tool. We're talking about an absolute worldwide necessity.
So what exactly is this state lie tax? Well, it's not some literal government fee. It perfectly describes the massive, costly gap where digital ledgers completely fail to match the physical truth of a job site. In the field, this manifests as fraudulent compliance paperwork or totally unprovable liability. It's that classic, frustrating scenario where the computer screen insists a job is done, but physical reality, the actual site, strongly disagrees.
Now, to solve a problem that is so deeply rooted in both physical reality and digital architecture, you need a very specific type of expertise. Enter founder Jesse Kane Brocious. He brings a completely unique, hybrid resume to the table. 15 years grinding it out as a master electrician, fully combined with the high-level technical skills of a software engineer. The pitch brilliantly uses this to establish immediate boots-on-the-ground authority. He completely understands the pain of the job site before he even attempts to introduce the complex physics behind the software.
And that unique background directly informs their proposed competitive advantage. The deck makes a bold claim. Standard software as a service essentially just guesses at the truth, using what they call plausible AI. Probabilistic guesses about the real world. Dispatcher AO, on the other hand, demands mechanistic truth. The software's operational kernel literally refuses to commit a transaction unless the physical geometry of the event and the digital intent align perfectly. No alignment, no transaction.
Right, so how do they actually enforce this absolute mechanistic truth? They introduce a concept called the dual hash liability handshake. Think of it as a cryptographic black box for field service. When a critical event occurs out in the field, a system called the Epoch Sentry Protocol intercepts it immediately. It locks down a perfectly verifiable time gap onto an immutable ledger. By anchoring every logistical action to this physical, kinetic baseline, the founders argue it becomes mathematically impossible for the system to lie.
Now notice the incredibly clever analogy they use here. Shifting a room of investors from broken AC units to subspace stabilization is a massive leap. You risk eyes glazing over instantly. To prevent that, the pitch actively grounds all this complex tensor field math with a physical anchor. They frame the software architecture as a geometrical load-bearing structure. They literally compare it to the same geometric logic that keeps a cell tower standing upright in a brutal Mojave windstorm. It makes the abstract suddenly feel very real and sturdy.
By treating data integrity exactly like physical structural integrity, the deck naturally introduces its core intellectual property, namely the Aurora protocol and a mathematical formula called the Brocious derivation. And crucially, they don't present this as some dry academic theory. It's framed as self-governing market logic. The core argument is that the network is held up by geometric foundations, which forces investors to stop looking for traditional software bugs and start looking for structural stress points instead.
Okay, so how does this deep, complex IP actually generate cash? This is where the business model maps out. They introduce the triad architecture, which neatly divides the entire ecosystem into three distinct entities. You've got a sovereign core holding the deep IP at Nascent Labs, a commercial SaaSware handling all the high-speed logistics at UI Studios, and a deployment framework handling the actual physical hardware at Macro Software.
This specific triad structure creates what they call a bifurcated trust model.
Here's how it works in practice. Routine, everyday routing runs super fast and incredibly cheaply on Tier 1 through UI Studios. But the very second a high-risk event happens, say an EPA compliance trigger, boom, the second tier immediately trips a cryptographic circuit at Nascent Labs to completely lock down the data. So you get ultimate speed for the daily grind and absolutely unbreakable security when liability is on the line.
And this translates directly into a serious revenue strategy. They're projecting a scale up to $40 million by year 5. This massive projection is split across 3 distinct streams: standard B2B SaaS subscriptions, enterprise hardware deployments, and something called protocol yield. That yield comes from diagnostic trip charges that are actually paid into a treasury using a native utility asset. It's a multi-pronged approach to generating fiat from deep science.
But let's pause and stress test this for a second, because any pitch in a Las Vegas boardroom is going to face the ultimate skeptical tech investor question. Someone is going to lean back and ask, look, if standard dispatch software already solves the basic problem and makes money, why on earth do we need tensor field math to route a plumber's truck? Why not just fund a standard SQL database version and skip all the high-energy physics?
Their answer to that skeptic: tactical defensibility, the ultimate moat. The pitch freely concedes that, sure, anyone could build a standard dispatch app in a weekend, but that just triggers a race to the bottom with competitors undercutting prices. Standard field service software has zero defensive moat. Dispatcher.io, however, claims their moat is an active patent covering their quantum subspace stabilization architecture. They aren't just protecting code, they are protecting the uncopyable, sovereign foundation of the network itself.
Which brings us to the absolute climax of the pitch room. They force the investor into a stark binary choice. Option A, you can fund a standard app, make some steady money for a bit, and watch it inevitably get cloned into obsolescence. Or Option B, you can invest in a structural, survival-grade advantage, an architecture so advanced they claim it makes every competitor's SQL app feel like bringing a typewriter to a rocket launch. It's a powerful framing.
Because ultimately, capturing immediate cash flow in the field service market is just step 1. The true endgame revealed here is deploying something called Aura. Aura is described as a light-powered, wearable hardware node designed to ensure total energy and data sovereignty on a fully decentralized mesh network. The grand vision, a reality where no single central server even exists to be queried, or, more importantly, hacked. It completely moves the protocol out of the cloud and into physical reality.
So I'll leave you with this final, highly provocative thought that this deck poses. In an infrastructure industry that is literally bleeding over $1 trillion every single year to paperwork gaps, unprovable liability, and state lies, is a probabilistic best guess AI system really enough to protect our data anymore? Or will the market ultimately demand mechanistic, verifiable truth? Food for thought. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.